Well, hello everybody. It's good to be back. Happy Monday night. Let's do some shout outs over here on Instagram. Hey to Cliff and Laura Day. Good to see you guys and missed you all while I was gone. Hey to Barbara Bacon, Kennedy Gambrell, Sharon Bernard, Melissa Begley, and Misty Dones English over here on Facebook. Good to see you guys. Well, I'll tell you, and this is what I'm hearing from a lot of people who've been sick, that it takes a long time to get over and the energy is very low. And boy, can I attest to that. This really kind of put me down for a little while, but I'm trying to get back to everything. And I've been waiting to present this week's show to you for a couple of weeks now. Hey to my beautiful neighbor, Miss Angela Atkins, and Cindy Hall and Janice Dixon. Good to see you. Hi to Bowling Green, Janice. Good to see you tonight. And a big shout out to Melissa over here on Instagram. Happy Monday night, everybody. This is, for me, this is kind of a controversial topic because I don't really agree with the recent definition of poltergeist, and I'll fill you in on why. Still kind of congested, so we'll have to bear with me on that. A couple of things I want to go over really, really quick. We have two sponsors for the show tonight. The first is Fresh Cap Mushrooms, and I use these to try to boost my immune system, and it's a brand that I researched and I've used for the last 6 years. And I feel like it keeps me kind of getting through stuff. Like, stuff still happens to me, but I'm getting through it. And so I feel like it is a really good benefit to anybody who wants to boost their immune system. And it's probably one of the things that kept me out of the hospital while I was sick. Anyway, if you want to use like mushroom coffee, which is big now, if you go to freshcap.com and use the promo code Kathryn10, Kathryn 10, you're going to get 10% off on your discount for whatever you purchase. The other person that's sponsoring the show tonight is feedspot.com. And this is a conglomeration of paranormal broadcasts, not only podcasts, but also video podcasts like tonight. And our show is featured on feedspot.com. And if you like this kind of content, go over and check them out and see if there are a lot of shows on there that you're missing out on that you would like to become a member and get all of those really, really interesting podcasts for free. So thank you to feedspot.com, and also thank you to Fresh Cap for giving us just a little bit to help out with the bills there. And I love both of these things. I will never sponsor anything that I'm not using myself or I don't believe in. Okay, now traditionally, poltergeist is a word for noisy ghost. Polter in German is noise or rumbling, and Geist, of course, is German for ghost. And so it's a German word for a noisy spirit or a noisy ghost. And this type of ghost or spirit is responsible for a lot of physical disturbances like loud noises, objects being moved or destroyed, also pinching, biting, hitting, tripping people. And there have been a lot of shows that, kind of somebody who gets pushed down the steps, they kind of attribute that to poltergeist. But more so, levitation of things, furniture, and objects that are thrown, or doors that fly open, or cabinet drawers that come out. Now, this term, I guess, was started or coined early in the 1800s along with the spiritual movement. And I think that it was kind of gained more attention or notoriety then, because when the spiritual movement started and mediumships were being given, there was a lot of levitation of tables, table tipping, rapping, trumpets. There was a lot of fraudulent stuff that went on, but there was a lot of really good mediums that practiced then too. But there were a lot of people who were underhanded and did pull the wool over a lot of people's eyes back then. Hey to Susan Nisi, Sharon Goff, and Mitzi Tribble. And if you guys have any questions on Facebook, I'm watching the feed on my phone, and I'll be able, hopefully, to catch some of the questions if you have any. So it was during that time frame that poltergeist activity kind of came to the forefront. Now, here's where we get into what I don't agree with. Later on, when a lot of poltergeist phenomena was being investigated, I think one of the biggest cases that we have that was investigated was the Enfield poltergeist in London, and that was in the 1970s. So this London family was experiencing everything from levitation of the children, moving furniture, things being thrown, disembodied voices, you name it, it was going on there, supposedly. And there's a lot of documentation about the Enfield poltergeist, but they attributed a lot of the poltergeist in the Enfield case to psychokinetic energy that was produced by adolescent females. Okay, so some of the shows that you're going to see on TV where they're talking about poltergeist phenomena will say that the activity is related to a person instead of a ghost. Now, here's where I disagree with that, and I'll tell you why. As a spiritual being, you're made of kinetic energy. Dead bodies do not move, and they don't have any kinetic energy. As a spiritual entity, you have kinetic energy. Now, when they're saying that a living person is the only thing that can produce a poltergeist, I don't feel that that's true, because the kinetic energy is the same as you're alive as you are passed on. The kinetic energy doesn't leave because you lose your body. The body conducts the kinetic energy, but it is not consistent of the substance. The kinetic energy is associated with the spirit. And that's why ghosts can move things, is because we're made of psychokinetic energy. And that psychokinetic energy keeps going on. And so I don't feel like the poltergeist is limited to a living agent. I think that living or past, you are the same psychokinetic energy. And if you can move something psychokinetically alive, there's no reason why you can't move that psychokinetically after you lose your body. Hey to Tony Lehane and Rob Abbott. Yes, Robert, we're talking about poltergeist. So a lot of places that you look for definitions of poltergeist are really kind of connecting that to adolescent females, because what they're saying is that during that change in life, that female energy is exacerbated, and that the poltergeist is a production of the onset of puberty. Now, I don't necessarily agree with that either, because I think that any teenager, male or female, when the hormones are kicked on and there's an extreme amount of energy flooding out from the person, whether they're male or female, that's an excess amount of energy that makes that person susceptible to, entities that will feed off of that energy, dark negative energies that want that excess energy that's being produced. And, a lot of kids at that age fall into depression. They get, drawn into drugs and alcohol, and they're at that phase of life where they may be acting out, and it's an expression of that excess energy, I think. So, to have things thrown across the room, I think it takes an advanced type of entity or spirit who knows how to manipulate their psychokinetic energy. Not all people after they've passed on are really good at navigating that and manipulating that energy. So Rob says people could create poltergeists by underlying psychokinetic energy. It's an entity created by our own ability. Tupla is a thought form created like Loch Ness Monster. So yeah, I mean, psychokinetic energy is the same, though. I feel like it's the same whether you're alive or passed on. It's not, for me, it's not isolated to a living agent. I feel like a lot of spirits that are accomplished at psychokinetic manipulation are very expressive and may try to gain attention by throwing things across the room. And really, it is a way to get the person's attention in the home, whether it's for good or bad. Maybe it's for good, maybe it's not for good, because a lot of poltergeist activity I was reading about, they can start a fire, and I've heard of them turning the stove on before to gain attention. So they can be really dangerous, but I think that a lot of the stuff that you're seeing on, the ghost shows and stuff like that, a lot of that activity, I feel like, is not real. And there are so many ways that people nowadays can reproduce a poltergeist type of activity for video. And I don't know, I can just feel, I can feel if there's so much activity and it has a certain quality to it, it's very jerky. To me, that stuff is not necessarily real. And, you would have to really be wary of some of the videos that you're watching on that, because, people get into using magnets. You may not see a string pulling something open, but from what I've heard, people use magnets in order to manipulate things being thrown or opened or shut. And there are other things that people use to manipulate matter as far as that goes. So I think that you have to look at the type of activity that's going on and like, what is the purpose, or why would the entity be trying to garner attention? And so I think that there's a lack of really investigative type of techniques when people are attending to somebody who's having trouble in their house. Like, there needs to be more questions asked as far as what entity could be behind it, and what are they trying to, what is it that they're trying to communicate? Is this a good communication, or is it a negative one? Not all the time when things get thrown across the room is it a negative type of entity or spirit. Because have you ever gone through the house, and let's say you had the windows open and the breeze was going through the house and you went to shut the door and the breeze caught it and it just slammed really hard and you were like, oh, oops. Spirits don't automatically know how to manipulate matter right off the cuff. I mean, some spirits are more adept at manipulation of matter and controlling their psychokinetic energy. And somebody who's newly crossed may not know that it doesn't take a large amount of energy to move a door or shut a cabinet or something like that. And so if things slam, it's not necessarily a negative thing. We have to kind of look at the context of the whole situation. And so Rob says it's also a business where people steal footage and duplicate, especially with technology today. I agree with that wholeheartedly, Rob. And if you watch any of the ghost hunting shows or scary footage and stuff like that, there's so many things that are being, videos that are really fraudulent. They're entertaining though, so what the heck, watch them, but just keep in your mind, this may not be an actual occurrence. It's not a true representation of that spiritual force that's acting in the environment. Now, 9 times out of 10, when a person goes into an area that's having that type of activity, what happens is, and that psychokinetic energy is in the environment, it's set up like a web in the energy field of that area, of that room, of the house. And so you're going to see this activity going on, but as soon as you go into that room, your presence is disturbing that web of energy that's set up, and that's when the phenomena usually stops. But that's why it stops, is you have interrupted that web of energy that was set up in the environment to produce that type of phenomena. So tonight's show is going to be a little bit short because I'm still just so congested and having trouble, and my voice may give out on me. But anyway, so I just wanted to give you guys a really accurate look at what poltergeists are. I feel like it is a psychokinetic manifestation of a spirit or entity, living or past. Okay. And 9 times out of 10, it is usually attention seeking. And once that you establish communication with that entity and find out what it wants, you need to do more investigation on it to find out what is behind the communication. What does it need? What does it want to communicate? What does it want to say? What's the importance of getting my attention? Now, some poltergeist entities who are passed on, if it is let's say a haunting that is an intelligent spirit that wants you to leave the property, that can be a huge problem. And so, that's when we would start extraction techniques to try to remove whatever spirit is there. So I hope you guys will not pay any attention to Angel on here, who is trying to dupe you there with getting a reading now. I wish I had somebody to get these people off here, but anyway, thank you, Rob. We're going to cap it for now. Next Monday night, I am on vacation, and I hope all this clears up before I go on vacation, because I would really like to enjoy this vacation. And I may just do a little ditty from the beach for you guys. And hopefully that would work out. And I would probably just do one on Facebook and then post it to YouTube. On my home desktop here in the studio, this goes out to Facebook and YouTube. but I will only be able to stream from one on next Monday, and I'll pick that as Facebook. We'll put that on Facebook, and thank you, Rob. I appreciate that. You're wonderful. Anyway, hopefully we'll see you guys next Monday night, and maybe it will be on the beach, and I'll have some kind of scary story to relate to you. Anyway, until then, kisses from Kentucky, and I will see you guys next Monday night, hopefully.